Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. I want to talk about growing your business with superstar employees. This is how to grow an enterprise with highly motivated staff. The idea is poorly motivated employees can be a distraction if you're trying to grow a business, especially if you're trying to grow a business with multiple locations. So what we want to do is figure out how to solve employee problems. And there's sort of a novel way to do that is presented in this video. So in a lot of businesses, there is a command and control sort of mentality with supervisors, with the owner, you're the boss, so you have to tell the employees what to do. Telling employees what to do constantly. If you do that, employees and people in general will stop trusting themselves. If they're always having to wait for a boss to tell them what to do, then their initiative suffers, right? Because they're unsure of what to do. They're unsure of themselves. If the boss is going to show up and give them the instructions for the day, then why bother having any initiative? So that does not align employees with your company. You know, if you're trying to grow a company, just starting with one unit, you really want to learn in that first business how to align employees so that they have a great attitude and that they help the business succeed. You want staff to be confident in themselves. One of the things you can think of in this regard is when you have children, children make mistakes as they grow up. All of us have been through that. So the parent is there to help them along, but the parent doesn't necessarily prevent them from making all mistakes. Parents generally know their kids are growing up and they'll make mistakes. They allow them to make the mistakes and then they provide guidance. So keep that in mind as we go through here. So the analogy I'll use is a sports team. Very few businesses are operated like a sports team. Most businesses are command and control. Successful sports teams, though, all the players are aligned with the team to win the entire team. And keyword successful, emphasize successful sports team. If you were to look at successful sports teams that rise to the top, and you look at their players, all the players were on board, aligned with the objective to make the whole endeavor win and succeed. And that's kind of what we want. You really can't do that if all your employees are waiting to be told what to do. They won't have any initiative. So most businesses, there's no coaching. Sports teams coach, successful sports teams coach their players effectively. If you look at a winning sports team, they have great coaches who coach the employees, the team, the players, and the players end up having initiative, self-confidence, and there's a couple of other things you have to do that I will get to in just a couple seconds here. But so most businesses, there's no coaching. The employees are dictated to, right? And even worse, there are micromanagers. So if you can imagine a sports team with a top batter or a batter who is developing on a baseball team, having someone breathing down their neck all the time, trying to tell them how to bat, that would undermine their confidence. They would lack self-confidence with that sort of browbeating and, a hovering boss. Nobody likes a hovering boss. And there are ways to avoid that. Basically, what we'd like to do somehow is conduct a business with employees, with a staff, like a successful sports team where all the employees, all the players are aligned to have winning for the whole team as the outcome. The desired outcome for the whole company is to win. So business owners generally have a need to own and operate multiple locations. Each location provides profit. When you're trying to grow a business, having multiple locations is sort of essential. Not in every business, but in a lot of businesses. If you look at companies that are successful, they usually have locations all over the place in multiple countries in some cases. So you cannot undermine confidence of your players, of your staff members, of your employees if you want to own multiple locations. You would be too busy. The employees would be waiting for the boss to tell them what to do all the time. You'd be too busy with that task at all your locations. You'd never be able to grow. So one way to get around this is to have an operating manual for every position. Just like a baseball team or a football team or a basketball team has a set of instructions for each player position, you should do the same in your business. You do not want people making things up on the fly, because if they have to guess about what to do, they'll guess right half the time and guess wrong the other half of the time. You want to have an operating manual for each position, a documented work activity for each position. Even McDonald's has one of these, a standard operating procedure. Have a standard operating procedure. And so this involves someone in the company having the job to, for each position, each staff member position in the company, a checkoff sheet of what that role entails, what they're expected to do to succeed in that position. So most of us have worked in companies, including professional organizations, that have nothing like that. In fact, even though I've been self-employed for a long time, I was an employee in corporate America for a short time after college, for about 3 years. And, there's none of this setting expectations on what the work activities are. A lot of it was, okay, we're hiring someone who's highly educated or has a past history of success. Surely they know what to do to help our company succeed. You can't leave it to chance. You have to assume that a little bit of nudging in the right direction with an operating manual, with a standard operating procedure manual, will help anyone in the company. Because if you hire someone and they have a gap in their knowledge and they have a manual they can go to see what their position is, what the requirements are, they don't even have to ask for help. They can look and see what they're supposed to be doing on their job. And so someone in the company should be given the task of figuring out what the work activities are for each position in the company and then documenting that, having something online on Microsoft Teams, for example, where a new employee who may be too embarrassed to admit he doesn't know something can go online and check. You want to have everything documented, all the work activities documented, so there is no on-the-fly, let's make it up as we go along work processes. This is especially true for customer-facing employees. What do I mean by customer-facing employees? So any employee that you have in your company who interacts directly with the public or your customers, you cannot have any undocumented actions or activities, even down to receptionists. If you have receptionists answering the phone, the incoming call may be a sales call. Even receptionists should have standard operating procedures for their position that tells them what to do. And that doesn't mean that they can't make up some things. You don't want to clamp down too hard on employees. You want to allow some room for individualism, right? But you need to be able to hold your employees accountable to their work activities. So if, for example, if someone calls the company and it's a sales call and the receptionist does a bad job and that customer calls back and talks to somebody else, you want to have an accountability loop where you can pull that employee in and show them these are the documented activities for your position. Please make sure that you follow those next time, right? And it's not like you're going to fire that person. It's like having children. We expect children are going to make mistakes. We expect employees are going to make mistakes. We're not going to come down hard on them, and we're not going to micromanage either. The knee-jerk reaction is to micromanage people who make mistakes, to make sure they do nothing wrong. That ties up the micromanager. If the micromanager suddenly believes that they have to micromanage employees, then what are they doing with the rest of their day? If they're micromanaging, ask yourself, did I hire a micromanager for my company, or do I need an operating manual so that never comes up? Micromanaging employees eliminates the employee's self-confidence. This allows the employee to know what's expected of them. And the cool thing about this is, as you learn what that position entails in the company, you can update the operating manual to reflect new learning that the company does as you go along. So there's a Japanese protocol for this. It's called Kaizen, Kaizen, where the entire organization, from the CEO all the way down to line employees, are expected to be open to learning on the job and then feeding that back into the company. And so the operating manual, the standard operating procedures would be updated as the entire organization learns how to do the job better, because nothing is static. The marketplace changes, new employees come on board, and so it's not necessarily a static document, the standard operating procedure manual, but you should have this for all positions. So if you think about this like a baseball statistician, measure and rank all the players. If you talk to someone who's kind of a fanatic about baseball player statistics, they can list all the performance abilities of a lot of different players they're aware of. And so that's kind of what you want for employees. You want to have measuring and ranking of all the players on the team. You want to be able to look at the employees and say, are they tracking the are they tracking the standard operating procedure manual? Are they doing a great job with their work activities, following what they're supposed to do for their position? And then there is an accountability process that comes from the measuring. So you start with the standard operating procedure manual, you measure each employee as to how well they're doing with that, and then you hold them accountable if they draw outside the lines, if they deviate a little bit. And you don't have to punish them. You just say, we expect that this stuff comes up. And by the way, here's the standard operating procedure for your particular position. Please follow that next time. And then have a leaderboard of top performers. So there's different opinions on this leaderboard stuff, because some people believe, okay, if we play favorites in the company, if management is seen as playing favorites, that demotivates the rest of the staff. So it's paramount that you communicate to all staff that the leaderboard of top performers is not casting aspersions on people who didn't make the leaderboard. The leaderboard is a chance for everyone to demonstrate that they're doing a great job, and anyone can make it on the leaderboard. And people who make the leaderboard one week are not necessarily going to be there the next week. So you have to make sure that you're cognizant of the fact that some employees might view a leaderboard as being, playing favorites in the company. And I've seen that happen in some companies where there's like a sacred cow employee who is held in high regard by management, and then everybody around that employee wants nothing to do with them, doesn't cooperate with them, and that employee ends up not doing well. So you want to communicate to staff the leaderboard is temporary and it's updated regularly. You could even institute something that says, if you made the leaderboard last week, give someone else a try. Don't expect to be there constantly. We do not play favorites in the company. And then the other thing you should do is share all the numbers, everything about that particular department or the whole company, and compare it to prior periods. So for example, if you have a leaderboard for the sales staff, which is actually kind of common, you can show who brought in the most sales in the past month or quarter or week even, and then you can compare to prior week, month, or quarter numbers. And so everyone knows where the company is and everyone knows where they are. And by the way, you should give rewards. They don't have to be major rewards, but maybe some early time off, like half a day off on Fridays, or dinner for two at a nice restaurant, something like that, that scale of reward for people who are top performers and make it on the leaderboard. So the whole point of this is there's two main things to avoid, is having employees be so unconfident about what they should do as they wait for someone to tell them. Because if you think about it, if you hired a person for a position, surely you qualified them to make sure they were, even if they were a new hire who didn't have experience, surely you qualified them and you became confident that they'd be able to learn the position that you hired them for. And if you did that, don't undermine their confidence by having a command and control system. Instead, have an operating manual. The cool thing about an operating manual is it can never be perceived as a sinister figure, a sinister person who is causing everyone problems. It's an inanimate object. It's something online that just shows what the work activities are for each position, as compared to a boss who goes around command and control. And so when you hire people for supervisory positions, a Myers-Briggs test, you can weed out people who have sort of a kind of a control freak mindset, who get a kick out of having authority and pushing people around. There are people out there like that, not too many, but they do exist. So the first thing is you want to avoid having employees so unconfident that they wait for someone to tell them what to do. And you also desperately need to avoid micromanagers, including if people high up in the organization are wasting their time micromanaging staff. You have to ask yourself, did we hire this person to micromanage our staff? If the answer is no, then you have to fix that. And the way to fix it is revert to the document, to the operating manual, and say no micromanaging. Every position in the company has a list of activities, and it's the responsibility of each person at that position to know what those are and to refer to them if they have doubts. There will be no micromanaging, because that kills the confidence of employees. So it's the same thing if you have kids. When you have kids, they're going to make mistakes. You allow them to make mistakes, and you show that, because if you don't let them make mistakes, they will never learn for themselves the pain of making bad decisions. Kids have to learn the pain of making bad decisions. You have to let your kids learn that. And the same with employees. And successful sports teams are great at coaching. And so as a parent, you're coaching. As an owner of a company with multiple locations, you're coaching. So think of it in those terms, because It's very hard to scale a business up to multiple locations if you have micromanagers and if you have employees who have no confidence because they have been undermined to not trusting in themselves. You really need to have the standard operating procedure. I mean, if McDonald's can break down the work activity for each position in a restaurant, surely you can do that at your company too. It takes a little bit of effort, but it's well worth it. If you have any questions about this, I'd be happy to answer any questions in the comments or any feedback that you have. And I really want to thank everyone for watching. Have a great day.